There was another violent subway attack, this one at the busiest station in the city.
A 16-year-old boy was killed in what police are calling an unprovoked attack.
Then, out of nowhere, a big push, sending the victim onto the tracks.
What is going on in Toronto's transit system? Canada's largest city is dealing with a transit crisis that has turned the TTC into a war zone of crime, chaos, and disorder, leaving commuters feeling unsafe on their way to and from work. My name is Ellie. I'm a journalist. I've been in Canadian politics for almost a decade, and in today's episode of Simply Politics, we're going to expose this shocking crisis. I will show you shocking footage, and we will talk about the problem with Daniel Tate of Integrity TO, one of the only people in the city that's trying to do something about this problem. But before we get to our must-watch interview, be sure you are subscribed, like and hype the video, hit the notification bell, and consider getting a paid channel membership for less than $5 a month.
Journalism commentary 1 year anniversary.
I don't believe journalism being funded by the government is the solution.
You have to rebuild the foundation.
You have to retell the stories.
Market conservative
Other news that actually matters.
I hence wanted to ask. I think they should answer their questions, especially if they're politically charged.
I wanted to talk to you today about the TTC, because on my Twitter feed, it's like every 2 days there's a new video on the TTC. Someone urinating, et cetera. What's going on the TTC?
You know what? It's the Wild West. It's a climate of impunity. It's an environment where crime, disorder, and just grotesque scenes are now happening with regularity, and it's happening in a climate of impunity. These so-called special constables seem to be impotent or nowhere in sight, or not laying down the law when they need to. The police are completely missing in action. So it's just become a lawless area, which is terrible because you have children, senior citizens, and just regular law-abiding people that now have to feel unsafe just to get from A to B.
Please look right.
What are you doing?
Just put out the joint.
What the fuck are you doing?
Put out the joint.
Enough.
You obviously have a now pretty large organization. I'm sure you're talking to a lot of people. What are some of the, I guess, if some people have told you some stories or about incidents they've experienced that you've seen, what are some that stand out?
It's as bad as you can imagine. And I've posted some stuff. It's the worst of human behavior, and a lot of it fueled by mental health issues, but most of it, I would argue, fueled by the drug crisis and drug addiction. When people are smoking and injecting horrific drugs, enabled by the state, by the way, it's going to have a knock-on effect across society. And when you're mentally gone on fentanyl or meth and you can't even keep your pants up, you're a threat to society. Basically, you're a threat to yourself, but then you're also a threat to society, and that's what we're seeing manifest in the subway system.
Who's to blame? Because 5 years ago, when you would take the TTC, it was it's a transit system. It's not going to be it's not going to be like flying business class on Air Canada, but it wasn't like this. What's happened? Who's to blame for this kind of seeming downfall?
There's a lot of blame to go around. First off, I would say liberal policy that puts an emphasis on liberalizing drug use or saying drug addiction is not a criminal offense. It's a healthcare issue. But here's the problem with that. Look, I empathize with people who are in the throes of addiction. But when that addiction starts causing you to partake in criminal activity and criminal behavior, that's when we draw the line. That's when we say, sure, it can still be considered a healthcare issue, but it's still certainly a criminal issue. So you have to have this sort of hybrid approach. But unfortunately, at various orders of government, they've fully gone in on the um, healthcare. It's a healthcare issue and needs to be treated as such. And therefore, police stand down. And police are, pardon the pun, handcuffed from dealing with all this disorder from their higher ups. And then you have what's called sort of like the broken windows theory, which is when this kind of behavior is not prosecuted and not dealt with in a very forceful manner, it sends a message to everybody else that it's a free for all in society. And that's how the rule of law generally starts to break down.
So you better be very afraid. Don't come in the back alley with me because I'm gonna beat you, bitch. Do you hear me? Do you think it's fucking funny? Push my button, and I'll do it right here.
Next station is.
You don't really know me, bitch. Push it some more. Grandma got me in my seat some more. And since I don't come. Cause I'm not playing with you no more, bitch. Real talk, real shit. Keep on laughing. No. When I get you, I will hurt you.
Arriving at Dundas Station.
I want to ask a bit about fare evasion, fare payments, because in I believe this was in the 90s in New York, there was a lot of issues with the subway, and under Giuliani, they decided we're going to put police at the fare gates and just arrest people who are fare evading. And often you would find that these people had guns on them, they had knives on them, they were wanted criminals. The people who are acting badly on the subway, do you think that these people are paying their fares? And if not, do you think a solution could be to just have more people enforce the fare gates, and then the bad people would just not get in?
People who are in the throes of addiction or are trafficking in drugs or doing, anything else are not concerned with paying their $3.30 to the TTC. If you are a drug addict, that $3.30 is precious to you, so you can buy your next fix.
Right.
So fare evasion is rampant. The problem is there's two-tier enforcement. These, and this is such an unfortunate name, these POOs, provincial offenses officers that are on the system, they're enforcing fare evasion for like kind of regular regular citizens. I'm not saying, of course, they're not law abiding if they're not paying the fare. But what's bothering me is that if you're going to enforce fare evasion, you need to do it across the board. You can't allow homeless people or people who are drugged out or otherwise, nefarious elements to get into the system without confronting them for their fare, while other people do get cracked down. We can't have two-tier policing or enforcement on the TTC, and that's what we're seeing right now.
There was a video that went viral a few weeks ago, and it was a guy getting a ticket because he didn't tap his card fast enough, I guess. And in the background, there's a guy smoking crack.
I just feel like I'm being singled out here. You're not doing anything about the guy in the back that hasn't provided proof of payment.
Towards you.
I didn't even notice you. Okay.
When I was walking towards you, that was when you got up and tapped your card.
You think
and
it's funny when you single people out?
And you clearly
What are you
said to
laughing
me,
about? That's not professional.
you forget to boarded at Jones, and I said you did not board
I
at
did pay
Jones.
my fare.
And that is the reason
Upon
I
was
gave you that
inspected,
ticket.
you were provided proof of payment. Now you're trying to push a false narrative and
Did I
single
give
me
you
out.
failure to provide proof of payment? I give you failure to comply with posted.
Yeah, and you're not unreasonable.
Okay.
As soon as I get on, you just single me out for no reason.
No, we checked.
Nothing reasonable
We
about
tapped
you.
everyone.
Yes, and then you were.
You're just trying to create a scene.
No,
we tapped.
no,
we
you're
checked
creating
everyone.
a scene by pushing a
All right,
false
let's go.
narrative.
Thank
All right,
you.
see you in court.
Yeah.
Be reasonable.
And it was like, this is such a perfect embodiment of this issue.
Well, and that was really his argument. Now, look, we don't know if he intentionally didn't pay or if he was going to pay. They just came on right away. But he had a legitimate argument.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, you're cracking down on me, yet there's several people here who've probably been sleeping and maybe even going to the bathroom on the streetcar for hours, and you're not even going near them. You're not talking to them. You're not asking them for their proof of payment. That should enrage everybody.
Yeah.
And in fact, when you start seeing that kind of stuff, you're sending the message to the population, there's no point in paying your fare. Why should an upstanding, hardworking, tax-paying citizen pay their fare when they see the next guy who's high on fentanyl or nude on the streetcar is totally hands off with these fare officers? So that's a huge problem.
Please look right for traffic when exiting.
How would you rate how Mayor Olivia Chow has addressed the safety on the TTC issue?
Poor.
And
Very
why is
poor.
that? What has she not done well?
Well, she hasn't come out at all to say that safety on the TTC is a huge problem. She hasn't come out and forcefully said that we need to put more resources and have a new idea on how to make the TTC a safer environment. She's just been quiet on the matter, and she only seems to be reactive when videos go viral. People get very upset, and then she might, say something. But she hasn't shown accountability on this matter, and that's troubling.
Since recording this interview, the provincial government announced it would give special constables the power to arrest people for drug use, and Mayor Olivia Chow announced the installation of barriers.
Please stand clear of the doors.
There are some people on the left, and I mean, this is, I call it almost suicidal empathy, but I'm going to ask you a question anyways, where there are some people who would say, well, we shouldn't, not lash out, but we shouldn't take issue with people struggling with addiction. We need to have empathy for them. And this is not the city's fault. This is our fault as citizens that we don't provide these people housing. So therefore, we until that housing is built for them, it is what it is, and we have to live with this. What do you say to that sort of argument or kind of worldview?
That's a morally bankrupt worldview, and that's why we're in the state that we're in. We can't be hands off with these people. We must be even more hands on and more assertive and more aggressive with ensuring that these people get the help they need. And by helping them, we're helping ourselves. Because people who are in the throes of addiction hurt not just themselves, but everybody around them. If you remember, there used to be an old TV show called Intervention on A&E. And at the end of the show, the family members and friends of the addict would come in with the therapist and basically say, you're hurting us so much that if you don't get forced rehab now, we're kicking you out of the house. We're taking away your car. Like this sort of the tough love. And that often was the final straw to have that person go into the rehab that they needed. We as a society need to take the same tack. We need to start exercising tough love with these addicts and making sure that they get the help they need. That is the compassionate approach.
Yeah, no, that's always what I say too. Tough love. I mean, I just look at myself. I was a very troubled child, and I got some tough love, and I'm very glad I got some tough love and not, people letting me continue to behave the way I behaved, or else I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't have a business,
Right.
have a university degree, etc. I heard there's an app now for the TTC that people can report incidents on. Tell me a bit about that, and does that help, do you think?
It's totally ridiculous. Olivia Chow seems to believe that when somebody's threatening you on the TTC with a knife or blowing crack smoke in your face, oh, don't worry, just download an app. Hopefully you have signal, by the way, in the underground. Download the app, fill out a form, and then sit there and wait for somebody to come to your rescue. Come on. Like this just goes to show how out of touch our mayor is to think that people are actually going to deal with all that crap when they're in a situation where they're threatened or in a very unsafe or unhygienic environment. She's out of touch. That's why people laugh at her when she says, if you're feeling unsafe, just download an app and file it in the app. That is passing the buck. That is putting the onus on TTC riders when really we should have proactive law enforcement in the subway system to deal with these issues in a very expeditious manner, but also do so in a very forceful and visible way so that people can see that the climate of impunity is going away, and that when people start to see police officers, or even if it's the special constables, take a zero tolerance approach to unsafe or unhygienic behavior on the system, and that's visible to everybody, that's how you change the public's perception of what's going on the TTC.
Yo, what the fuck is wrong with you, man? Stop it! Fucking stop it! Stop it! Get off! Grow up! Stop filming these people, man! Get it. Hey, grow the fuck up, Widows! Fuck off! Hey, leave her alone, you fucking monster! Leave her alone! Leave her alone! Thank you. Leave her alone! Leave her alone! Leave her the fuck alone! Leave her the fuck alone!
Going back to that argument of, the flawed argument of, you just hate the poor if you have an issue with this. The people who can say that often, they're people who can afford to take an Uber to work every day, or they can afford to get a parking spot downtown Toronto. There seems to be when you allow transit to decline and decline and decline, it becomes a scenario where the only people who take it are those who can't afford to not take it, and then it's just there's disproportionate consequences. So, I mean, do you have any thoughts on that, and what are the consequences if we continue to allow the TTC to decline further?
Yeah, I empathize with those people, blue collar workers, those who are in the lower income brackets who don't have the luxury of buying their own car or taking an Uber. And I bet you a large proportion of them wish they did. And that's why they go to work every day and they work hard to earn their money so they can attain the next level in the socioeconomic ladder, so that maybe one day they can afford a car. But those people are being, as you said, disproportionately affected by this unsafe environment on the TTC. So that's not fair to them. Everybody should have an equally safe, enjoyable experience when they're riding on the public transit system. And it does show that because Chow and many of her allies have allowed this situation to fester, it is disproportionately hurting those of like the lower socioeconomic bracket. And that's not fair.
It's also not very progressive of them, arguably.
Right. Well, she's big on equity, equity. That's the
Free
big
equity
buzzword
is
you
apparently
hear.
a thing in Toronto.
Yeah, that's the thing. So for someone who's always preaching equity and safety for all and a caring city and all these little buzzwords that the mayor uses, well, that's just, as far as I'm concerned, propaganda, because that's not bearing out in the real world.
Go, go. You're fun.
Shit! It's not popping. You fucking idiot!
Daniel, these are all my questions, but was there something else that maybe you would like to add?
It's important that citizens of this city and taxpayers who are not happy with the state of affairs get more involved. We have a big election coming up this year, and we have an opportunity to affect change, positive change. And it's very important that citizens wake up, become well versed and informed on the issues, and make sure that they show up at the ballot box in October.
Well, isn't this all very disturbing? I think it is. So I have a little petition for you to sign down below. If you agree that it's time to restore public safety in Toronto Transit, and if you like this video, I mean, there's nothing to like with what's going on, but if you enjoyed the expose, then give the video a like, comment your thoughts down below, be sure you are subscribed, and see you next time. God bless.